Welcome to Scoop World Order. It is Wednesday. There is a little bit of movement. Kind of a strange situation has gone on at Notre Dame. They've released a safety that Ohio State is very interested in. It looks like it's going to be an Ohio State-Michigan battle. We're going to break that tape down. We're also going to break down OnAir Nolan. We talked about him a couple nights ago, but we're going to break down his full highlight tape. A lot of good stuff going on. Spring break for the Buckeyes. So it's a little slow time at the Woody Hayes right now, but there's still a lot of stuff going on. Pro days next week, practices next week. A lot of good stuff going on. We'll talk a little bit about some of the crazy NFL news. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers to the Jets is near and dear to Nevada's heart. Jalen Carter bombs at his pro day because he's a fat turd and he will be a complete bust. So it's always good to see that. The dude literally fell out of his drills at pro day. Totally embarrassing. So that being said, as always, thank you guys so much. We are growing. We just passed 18,000 on the YouTube channel, so we appreciate you guys. Keep cranking. Keep spreading the good word. Click like, click subscribe, and click alert if you enjoy this live content. Again, I know you guys are starting to filter in here. I see you guys jumping into the chat, so we appreciate you guys as always. Again, if you guys are ready for spring ball to get cranked up, you got to get on BuckeyeScoop.com. That is where we are. Bill Grain did his all-day chat today, breaking down position groups, who he's worried about, who he's excited about, basically every which direction, and Bill does it like nobody else can do it, so you should jump in on that. Big March Madness thread starting up tomorrow. It's going to be all day. Just a great day planned for Buckeye Scoop with the beginning of March Madness tomorrow. With that being said, I'm going to bring in my good friend Nevada. Buck Nevada, how are you?
Doing great, man. It's March Madness Eve, which is always kind of an exciting time, and getting ready to buckle up for nonstop basketball and trying to see where I was looking in the brackets, trying to see where Ohio State's playing. I'm not sure where they're playing tomorrow, but maybe you can fill me in on Ohio State basketball news, and maybe we'll make a run and win the championship this year.
Playing at the Rec Center, real quick, Nevada, is there a standard play that you like to do on these? I remember a long time ago, you told me take the 1 seed, lay the points, it hits 60-something% of the time or something crazy like that. Any quick plays before we get into Brandon Hillman, the safety from Virginia who just left Notre Dame?
I think just bet every 12 seed. 12 seeds invariably upset the 5s. You'll probably get some nice money line action on that, and you'll have a good day on Thursday, Friday. And remember, Nevada Bucks told you, and we'll be posting more. We got big MMA action with Dagestan Poppy that we're going to be posting tomorrow as well. So buckle up for all you gamblers. Got some free winners we're handing out. So there we go.
Yeah, if you guys are gamblers, we have a great gambling thread going on right now, and the units are up massive. So it's really cool. It's something that we didn't really ever plan, or kind of plan to get into it, but it's just we have a lot of people that are really sharp handicappers, really good MMA stuff. If you guys are into fighting, if you're not into fighting, it's even better because then you can bet on actually want to watch something that's on generally on a Saturday night. But we're going to get into a kid named Brandon Hillman, who's from Virginia. He's from Portsmouth, Virginia. Went to Churchland High School, committed to Notre Dame. Did not sign with Notre Dame and was just released from his letter of intent this week. So he's basically a free agent. He has a different set of circumstances than most. He can sign anywhere at any time and be ready to go for summer semester or Maymester or whatever you want to call it. It's like the abbreviated summer session, and join a team. And it looks like, Ohio State offered him on Monday. Michigan offered him. He's picked up a bunch of really nice offers. It looks like it's going to be an Ohio State-Michigan battle. We're going to go through a little bit of his tape. Nevada, what's the benefit to adding another 4-star safety to the fold? I know that obviously this is Josh Proctor's last year. It's Lathan Ransom's last year. We got Jihad Carter in the portal. But, are you worried about our safeties? Obviously, we have Sonny and Kai who look like superstars, but, do we need another freshman to add to the mix?
I don't think you can ever get enough good players. The college football is much like the NFL. It's just like, how many good players can you lay in on your roster? You never know what's going to happen with injuries. You never know what's going to happen with transfers. You never know what happens with just other unforeseen circumstances. So now, whenever you get a chance to grab a kid like this and you want him, you go after him as hard as you can, and I hope you get lucky. And I'm actually shocked that he didn't get in. So he didn't get into Notre Dame on an academic. Notre Dame takes everybody. They've got everybody. They got Rudy, and Rudy Rudiger got in there. So how did this kid not get into Notre Dame? And that's amazing.
Yeah, they've gotten some kids whose transcripts I've actually seen that really weren't that bright, and it's amazing sometimes when you see some of these guys get in, because like there's always that notion that they're this high and mighty academic power, but it's not always accurate. So here he's playing quarterback actually, and the first clip you see him jump, so this is him right here. He's kind of a little guy, they say 6'1", 190. He doesn't look 6'1" on tape. Again, I think he's here he is playing quarterback again, and so again he's playing bad football. Like Virginia is especially bad football. I remember watching Derek Green's highlights, watching Trey Henderson's highlights. It's bad football. So he should be dominant. He's going to be a guy that's going to be playing both ways because, again, when you're playing at some of these smaller states, some of this bad ball, like, and you have an athlete like this kid who's a Notre Dame, Michigan, SEC offer type kid. You got to play him at quarterback. You got to have him touch the ball on every single play. So yeah, but he's gonna be a safety for us. Again, he's a good athlete. Again, I think that we need as many safeties that can cover and play nickel as possible. You can't have enough cover guys in the secondary, especially guys that are 6'1" and can run. And again, this kid, even in bad ball, he still is the best athlete. He's the fastest guy in the field. He dominates, which is what you want to see when someone's playing against lesser competition. Again, Ezekiel Elliott, who got cut today, when we watched his film, he was playing against a bunch of little boys in St. Louis, and he just absolutely destroyed them. It was like 250 yards a game every time we watched his film. But that's all you can do when you send him to a small division Christian school like Zeke went to. He's going to destroy those kids, and he did. And the worrisome thing is when we watched Derek Green, who was the number one running back in the 2012 class, and he wasn't dominating against kids like this. So that was a humongous red flag. And obviously Derek Green never turned into anything. And that was the year that we took Ezekiel. So, it's just one of those little things that you look at. You look at the level of competition and you look at how do they do against it. And this kid, every time he touches the ball, he's going for 65, 70 yards, scoring touchdowns. So, I like the explosion, and again, like I don't mind watching a guy with the ball in his hand, even if he's going to be a safety, because you can see the speed. You can see him kind of basically put the team on his back. So we'll get some defensive clips going here shortly. Nevada, again, we've talked about the three starting safeties. I think, they're going to do everything they can to let Josh Proctor start. I think he's going to start at the Bandit. I think that Lathan, who played Bandit last year, has got to move over to free safety where Ronnie Hickman was and play the adjuster role. And then the nickel is going to be really interesting. Is it going to be Jihad Carter? Is it going to be Sonny? Like, I again, I was just kind of pontificating on early downs, playing Sonny at nickel where he's kind of down in the box like Darren Lee used to be in running downs. I think that'd be something to be interesting to experiment with because they have to find a role for Sonny. Like, that's the thing that, with Tough, or excuse me, not Tough, with Tommy and with Steele coming back, it kind of soaks up a year of usage for Sonny because I believe Sonny's going to be 3 and out. I think he's got 2 years left at Ohio State, and it's kind of like the Paris Johnson deal where he, in year 2 they kind of had to force Paris to play guard just to get him on the field. Sonny feels like that to me, where they're going to have to force him somewhere, maybe not his most ideal spot, but somewhere where they can just get something out of him before he goes pro after 3 years. But what are your thoughts on what they should do with the three safety spots?
Well, it's really interesting because I've always felt that that Sonny could play an early down role against the run, but the more I'm thinking about it, it's going to be interesting how they play with Josh Proctor in hand because if you can't do that, does Sonny step in there for Josh, and do you just move Josh into a more situational role? I mean, does Sonny have more upside? Sonny's got years left. He's 3 and out. He's a guy that you got to get on the field. So, I think it's going to be interesting to see, can they get away with playing him on early downs, or does it become a Josh Proctor, Sonny Styles battle for that other safety spot? Lots of intrigue with that. I think it's really one of the key things. It's really one of the only questions we have about the defense, other than interior defensive line depth. Can we generate a little bit of pass rush from the defensive ends, even though those guys are both the highest 5-stars you've ever recruited? Linebackers are going to be best in the country, and I think our cornerback issue's been really resolved with Davison coming on. So safeties is really one of the last intrigue parts, and if they can figure that out, boy, the 2023 defense is going to be nasty. And I've been saying that all along. I am all in on the fact that the second year under Knowles is going to be a great one. The defense is going to take a huge spot. It's going to move up and continue to improve. But yeah, I want to see where they line up Sonny Styles and see how they can really how they're going to really deploy him, because he just, when you see him on the field, it's really a crying shame that we didn't see him more last year. And it's one of life's great mysteries how he didn't get on the field next year, or last year rather. And next year they've got to resolve that, and they've got to make amends for what I consider to be a mistake last year, but I'm sure they'll figure that out.
Yeah, I agree. This is a great hit. I mean, he's over here playing strong safety. They got the nickel up here coming off the edge, but I mean, he kills this guy on this tunnel screen now. I love this. I mean, this is my favorite play so far, where he just knocks this guy straight backwards, and he's all juiced up, which is great. I mean, I love that. That's the first play. Obviously, you can see why it's first play. Here is blitzing off the edge. Oh, I like this guy as a nickel, man. This would be great. Oh my God, I hope we get him now. I mean, it's like, I love the slot guys that get excited to blitz and get after the quarterback, because he gets there in about a second and a half, about a tick and a half, and the quarterback can't do anything when they leave him free like that. But see if we can see him in some coverage here. More run support, gets to the ball. See, I like the guy's foam. I mean, that's the thing. This would just be like a little extra cherry on top of the sundae when it comes to the recruiting, because this kid obviously we didn't think we were going to get, but man, they love blitzing him. I mean, this is, as much as I've seen a safety blitz, especially an athlete like this, generally, these guys are kind of patrolling the middle of the field. And I mean, he is not scared. Here he is running the ball. He's taking a nice pursuit angle. See, this is the best play of the entire set, because the kid doesn't give up. The kid doesn't. Yeah, so he's backside safety here. You got your corner here, nose up, and look at the effort. So they're running a little. It's like a counter reverse type deal. So they hand it off, and and I mean, this guy's kind of dead to rights right here. This is a lot of space to make up. I mean, he's all the way at like the numbers over here. Like, that's his shadow, and he turns on a pursuit angle, which is good. That's well coached right there. And he's just hauling it. And it's like, you look at his teammates, like, watch this guy, watch the corner, just dogging it, not even trying, I mean, I'd bench that kid. I mean, flat out. And this kid, I love. Watch this. I mean, he saves a touchdown just by hustling. And this corner, who's in the same spot at the beginning of the play that he is 30 yards away from the ball at the end of the play. So I loved it. I mean, again, we watched 3 plays of defense. We obviously watched him shred people as kind of a running quarterback, but that's a hellacious play right there. Here he is in coverage. We finally got a coverage play. Still in coverage. He's got a pick here. He's coming up to make the tackle. Yeah, I mean, he sticks to the guy like glue. Again, I like this kid. This would be a nice get for us. Again, we need guys that can play that nickel, man. And this is a guy that can do it. I mean, we had Tanner McAllister last year. Wasn't good. You need a guy that can cover at safety the way Lathan can. Yeah, like, this is, the more I watch this guy's film, I really like this kid. Like, here, they're running the little bubble screen, and here this guy's supposed to block him, and he knocks him off. Boom. Sideways, and then he makes the play. Yeah, like I said, I hadn't seen this film. We just downloaded it for the show tonight, but yeah, I hope we get this kid now, man, because it's exciting to watch him get after some guys. Here he's playing. This would be our adjuster, the deep safety. Takes a good angle, gets the kid down. Yeah, and again, I know it's a highlight reel, obviously, so all the plays are going to be good, but there's different levels of good. I like seeing high level effort. I like seeing vicious hitting, vicious tackling, like aggressive. He's not he's popping guys, pushing guys backwards, which I love in the box tackle. So I really like this guy's film. What do you guys think of him in the comments? I see you guys starting to filter in here, but yeah, he's a good athlete. What do you think so far, Nevada? You're watching this.
Yeah, well, I mean, that effort play that he made to save the touchdown, I mean, that's not a play you often see from kids,
No.
And like you said, he had to take an absolutely perfect angle to even have any chance and run as fast as he possibly can just to knock the kid out at the 2 or 3 yard line. And there are not many kids in high school football that would do that. Period. End. And again, I'm not going to get too excited or over the moon about this kid or that kid or whatever it is. But no, that singular play spoke volumes to me about what kind of player he is and what kind of effort he gives on the field. That was outstanding. That was really, really good.
Yeah, I like it. His name's Brandon Hillman. He's a kid that was a Notre Dame offer. We're on him now. We offered him on Monday. I believe he's going to visit him. He's going to visit Michigan. He can sign whatever he wants. I mean, he's like 2023. So, he's in Brandon Innes and Carnell Tate and Luke Montgomery's class. Most of those guys are all signed. A bunch of those guys are already enrolled. He did not get into Notre Dame, so they released him from his letter of intent. He has no transfer restrictions, so it looks like it's going to be between Ohio State and Michigan. So, but I like the kid. And he plays, for the first half of the video, he played quarterback. And again, it's bad football. It's Virginia football, so you're going to be watching the kid play a lot of offense too, because if you're an athlete like this, you're not going to go one way in Virginia. And really, like in Ohio, like I don't think any kid that's any good should go one way. I mean, Brandon Innes went both ways at American Heritage. He played safety for him. So, I think that you need to, there's a lot of high school coaches that for whatever reason only play their guys one way. And I think that if you're a good player in high school, you should be playing both ways. But yeah, I like the explosion. I like the burst. So, I'm impressed by the kid. So yeah, Brandon Hillman. So he's a guy that I think that we should, hope for. Again, if he goes to Michigan, then obviously, we're going to be going against the guy, and then I'll say that he stinks. But if he goes to Ohio State, I'm going to be real excited about him because I think he's got a lot of talent. And he's a kid that we're gonna be looking at here. I'll pull his profile up for you guys real quick. So here's his profile. Again, this is old because it says he's Notre Dame 100%. But he's a 4-star on 247. He's a kid that again we're going after him hard. Again, and I like his skill set. I think he's a good athlete. I think he's a guy that can stick the guys in coverage, and he's not scared to hit, which I love, especially around support for a safety. And that effort play is important because I was really critical in the Ohio State Michigan game where we had a couple of those long runs. We had some guys that literally turned off the effort. They turned it down. They didn't, aggressively go after guys. And, and that was an issue on some of the long runs is, are our guys really turning and running and sprinting to the ball, or are they just giving up and letting the guy run down the sideline? And I saw some guys turn it down against Michigan, and that was actually really disappointing. So, this kid hopefully could be kind of a tone setter when it comes to some effort. And I was really critical of Kerry Combs' defense because I just don't think that he demanded the effort or he allowed it. Because when you see stuff on tape, that stuff's either taught or it's allowed, so he might not teach for kids to dog it on the backside of plays and the pursuit angles, but he allows it. So, it is what it is. Like whatever you put on film is what you coach. And if those guys continue to play, that's on the coaching staff, and like I said, there was some severe lacking in effort in the Michigan game. I'm put a little Air Nolan. So Nevada, Air Nolan is a kid. Bank thinks that we're going to be potentially our next quarterback. He's a kid that I saw in Naples. He was with South Florida Express. He didn't play the games I saw, but he was there. He's got some crazy statistics. So he's a really put together dude. I mean, 55-4 is insane for Georgia football. This is big time football. This isn't Virginia football. 4,000 passing yards, but this one, most points ever scored in Georgia high school football. So 15 games, 792 points. So you guys get the calculators out. You guys can throw that in the chat for me, but we're going to watch some of this tape here. He is a big strapped up dude. He's a lefty. And again, he's teammates with Giovanni Thurman, and this is big time Georgia football. So this is a lot different than that Virginia trash competition we're watching. This is big time ball. They won the state championship. A couple of these stories actually go to Jelani. Jelani's 33 on this tape. He's obviously a lot bigger than the guys on the outside. I think that's Jelani actually right in the middle of the field right there. But Nevada, your initial thoughts on Air Nolan? Again, the 2024 recruiting cycle for quarterbacks has been one of the most fascinating things I've ever seen, going from Jaden Davis to taking Dylan Rayola's silent commitment at the spring game to, Dylan Rayola loves us to Dylan Rayola doesn't love us. And then Jaden Davis is jilted, and Julian saying is committed to Bama, and we're kind of going after him, to Air Nolan, who we haven't even offered yet, but he just got a Clemson offer. He's got Georgia. He's got some major offers. But But what are your thoughts as we go into the summer without a quarterback in 2024?
Well, I mean, when you look at a kid like this, you wonder how Georgia could ever let him get out of state. I mean, there's just so much to like, and as you said, there's really no knocks. You can't knock his accuracy. You can't knock his arm strength. You can't knock his intellect. You can't knock the level of competition. There's just, I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, his numbers he put up are just video game type of numbers, and so I mean, if Ohio State's got a shot, we'll take it. But quarterback recruiting, I think, is always going to be crazy, just because between the portal and guys going early, and you only want to take one, and you can only play one. It's just, I mean, it's such a delicate dance. It's unlike any other position on the football field, in that only one guy's going to play. So they're really, really concentrating on that depth chart and who's there and who's going to be there and who's committed and who's not going to be committed. So look, if you get a kid like this, I would take him all day and every day and twice on Sunday and be extremely happy, because I just think the sky's the limit for this young man.
Yeah, he's a 4-star. Just visited Clemson. They offered him committable offer. He's going to come up to see Ohio State, it looks like, on his own dime, which they say that they're going to offer him if he gets here on his own dime, and then he'd be back for an official in the summer. But there is a good chance that he might end up our quarterback. There's some guys on the staff think he's the best quarterback in the country. And again, you watch his tape versus the level of competition, and I mean, he's a freak. I mean, he's a big athletic dude. I stood next to him when he was throwing the ball with JJ Smith, and he has an absolute cannon. Like, he has he throws a spiral that you can hear because he throws it so hard. It was like whizzing by my head, and I was like, God, if this thing hits me, I'm probably gonna die. But he, when him and JJ were playing catch, like normally, like when people play catch, they like throw a couple balls to like loosen up. Like, Air's first ball was like 90 miles an hour, like right down the middle. And I was like, oh my God. And the guys on the South Fork Express were like, man, he's like whizzing that. They said some explicit stuff that was kind of funny, but he wasn't there just to soft toss it and get his arm loosened up. It was like his arm was already in howitzer mode from Jump Street, which was kind of cool. Like I said, I liked the kid. He seemed like a really nice kid. He was a quiet kid. So, and again, the SFE thing is always good for us, just because, he knows Ennis and he knows Tate and he knows those guys. So, like I said, he wasn't playing a couple of the games I was in. They had a different quarterback, but they kind of rotate through quarterbacks when they don't have a guy that's like their guy this year. So they've kind of played with a bunch of different quarterbacks. But yeah, it's always fun when you watch these tapes and you realize that one of these kids is already coming to Ohio State, because Giovanni Thurman is one of my favorite players I've ever seen on tape. So he's 33. There he is. Yeah, again, like this is so hard to defend. This is why I love quarterback run game, and I know some people hate it, but how do you defend this? And there's literally nobody home, and the kid can run. So again, I think that's an element of our offense that we've been missing. We missed it, with CJ not getting a rushing touchdown over 2 years. Obviously, we can still throw the ball, but when you really need it, if a guy can take off and hurt a team on the ground, it's devastating. But yeah, this is big time ball. This is playing in the Georgia Dome or playing in the Benz Dome, whatever. And he's a freaky dude. And like I said, he has a cannon. So if we're trying to take deep shots, man, this is the dude. Here, I love this is Jelani right here, I think. Yeah, there's Giovanni Thurman.
Mr. Barton, I got a question for you. If you have a left-handed quarterback, does that change anything what you're doing on the line between your left tackle and your right tackle?
I don't think it does. Like, I think that the left and right tackle thing is kind of overblown, in my opinion. I know that like the blind side made left tackles just extremely important, but if your right tackle can't pass block, you're screwed either way. I mean, both guys got to be able to pass block, and like if you're a right tackle and you play in the AFC West, a couple years ago you're playing Von Miller, Joey Bosa, Chandler Jones, like you're playing like some big time dudes on that side too. So I don't think it would. I think that the biggest thing that it would do is, if you ran like what they call like a naked bootleg, where you fake a run and roll out, you'd probably do that more to the left than to the right, because whatever hand the quarterback is, like imagine if you're running with the ball and you got to run and throw it. it's easier, obviously, if you're a right-handed quarterback to roll out to the right and throw it than it is to roll out to the left. You can still do it, but we don't run that many nakeds or that many sprint outs. But I think we tend to call them more when it's to the advantageous side. Like if we have Braxton Miller, who's a right-handed quarterback, we're gonna run what we used to call 494, which is a short sprint out pass to the right, because Braxton can get out there and he doesn't have to flip his hips. So that's a great question. And if you run any tunnel screens or smoke screens, like where maybe this guy blocks and this guy steps back, you'd run it to this side because he's a lefty, so he'll catch the ball and he's throwing it with his left hand right away. I think that's probably a bigger change than what would happen with the offensive line, just because mechanically it's easier. But man, I mean, Nevada, this guy, one of my favorites, Giovanni Thurman. I mean, I don't know if we've ever had a tight end. I don't know if Hireman or Vanette ever did this in high school. Maybe they did. I think Rocker did a little bit, but that's awesome. Like, to be able to split a tight end out like that and have him go get it is something I don't think we've seen in a long time. It was a nice coverage blow. Put that on the highlight reel. Yeah, I think this kid's got, his highlight tape is 15 minutes long. Most of these things are about 6 minutes long. So it just shows you, it's just from last year, it just shows you when you throw for 55 touchdowns, like there's going to be a lot of highlights. And that didn't even count the runs. Those are 55 throws. So, but yeah, this could be our guy. And again, the funny thing about it is, like with Ryan Day, I just don't care who the quarterback is, because whoever it is, he's going to be, we've had the All Big Ten quarterback every single year since 2012. So whoever we throw back there with Marvin and Emeka or Brandon Ennis and JJ Smith and JoJo Trader and all those guys, like they're going to be All Big Ten, or they're going to be, if they're not All Big Ten, then it's almost like a failure on the quarterback's part, because, it's just, they have so much infrastructure and so many great weapons around them. And, our line's going to always be good. And we just have better players than everybody we go against. So, but I like this kid. Here we go. Here's the read option. Again, hard to defend. Nice little move into the end zone. Nevada, I know the answer to this, but how much would you run a quarterback? Ideally, if it's from Urban Meyer, who ran him like crazy, to Ryan Day, who never runs them, what is the best mix or way to go about it? Is it 5 times a game, 10 times a game, no times a game? What would you prefer if you were calling plays for Ohio State?
Well, if you're in college, it's got to be a minimum of 5 times a game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think it's, in college football, I would say it's like a mix between Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. I don't think you want to, I think Josh Allen's kind of at the extreme, but I think Patrick Mahomes is the minimum that you want in terms of running. And I think the last 2 years where we had 0 rushing touchdowns out of CJ Stroud was just an impossibly bad stat, but maybe one of the most embarrassing stats that I've ever seen at Ohio State. And did it cost us a national championship? Maybe. I just think that the unwillingness to run him, the wrapping him in bubble wrap and not allowing him to run, or not encouraging him to run, or not demanding that he run, I just think was just an epic fail. It was as bad as Knowles playing Tanner McAllister out there, and probably even worse. So, hopefully, Dave's learned his lesson, going to be a little bit more aggressive with it. But guys like this, they can do it. They're all doing it. They're doing it at the NFL. Got to do it in college, minimum 5 times a game.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that, him refusing to run really hurt the offensive. People say, oh, well, he threw for 5,000 yards and 45 touch, whatever his numbers were. But I'm like, the fact that you won't run it makes it a lot easier to prepare for this offense. So if there is a game where the passing game isn't working, or it is tough to throw downfield, you're a lot easier to bottle up, because you have to essentially go out of your comfort zone to become a running quarterback. He did a little against Northwestern. There's Jelani again. He did it obviously, at the very end of the Georgia game, but we could have used some scrambles against Michigan to move the chains. We could have used them, the year before. And again, I just think that, especially when it's hard, like a hard game on the road at Notre Dame, at Wisconsin at night, you can't hear. It's so important to take the crowd out of the game, and you take the crowd out of the game by scoring points and by moving the chains and holding the ball, taking the air out of the ball, so to speak. And I've been in those situations where, you have like Troy Smith scramble and go move the chains in the 05 Michigan game. Basically won us the game. The 04 Michigan game, when we stunk, Troy carried us largely because of his legs, because he'd get out there and they'd be running off in man coverage and Troy take off for 35, 40 yards, and that just cripples a defense. It's just the most deflating feeling in the world when you have perfect coverage and they still get 30 yards because the quarterback takes off and breaks contain. But yeah, like that's the thing I like about Ayers. And the thing about Ayers, he's a strapped up kid, man. He is a muscular, strong dude. So he's not some frail little kid who looks like he's allergic to the weight room. This guy is a monster. So, that's something I think that, he's built for the durability aspect of it, of taking some hits. Now, again, you don't see him get hit at all in this film, I don't think, maybe as he's falling into the end zone. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see. There's Jelani again. Again, I love watching because Jelani's got 5-6 highlights of touchdowns and long passes so far, and I'd love to see that connection kind of get rekindled in a couple years if Jelani and Air are reconnecting at Ohio State. But yeah, I don't know. I think that it's something that this year, especially with again, I think our tackles are going to be fine, but they're also going to be brand new, so there's going to be some growing pains. And Paris and Dewan had growing pains when they were first-time starters, so they weren't always perfect. They weren't even perfect last year. They had some, they gave up some sacks and they gave up some pressures. So, it just helps when a guy can save you by scrambling out of it. I mean, I gave up pressures and sacks, and if Troy took off and I didn't give up the sack, that was like the best, because then he'd go get 8 yards and be 2nd and 2, despite pass protection not being perfect. So, yeah, I really like this kid though. Like I said, he's a good kid. He's a sharp kid. I love guys that play elite competition just because I feel like they're more ready to go. And I feel like our staff, like with Justin Fry, takes 2 kids from St. Ed's, takes a kid from Toledo Central Catholic, to basically get 3 state champions from last year in the offensive line room to start the class off. I think that they like big time competition, big time ball, super high level production. Obviously the highest scoring offense in Georgia history. We took the tight end from there. We might as well take the quarterback too. So really like his tape. What else about? You guys got any questions? Air Nolan being a lefty, is Ryan Day against that? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, I think that the biggest thing is there's just not a lot of lefties. There's not a lot of lefty quarterbacks. You look at the NFL, Mike Vick, Steve Young. There's just not a lot of them out there, I guess. So I don't think he's against it, because if you're talented, you're talented. And I don't think it changes the offense that much, honestly. But it'd be interesting to see what would change. Like, it's funny. I just watched a bootleg. I'm actually going to put the film back on for one more play. This is what I was talking about with the boot to the left. Let me get this queued up. So this is just what I talked about with a lefty. When you run a naked bootleg, like you want to run it to his like dominant side, which is a lefty, roll him out to the left, because then you get that nice easy throw. I want to play this too because this is Jelani. So Jelani gets a nice easy touchdown. Again, trucks the kid going into the end zone. Again, I love watching Jelani's film, because I think he's a guy that's going to be a factor sooner than later. Obviously, we got Cade for one more year, but after that, I mean, Joe Royer and Jelani are going to be a pretty dynamic duo, I think. So, Nevada, let me see. Do you think Ryan Day has learned his lesson after last year in Nevada? That's a great question, Sue. What do you think, Nevada?
I do. I really do. I mean, I've heard that frequently from people that are close to Ryan, that it's almost like he had a little bit of an awakening, and he had a little bit of an awakening about himself, about his deportment on the sideline, about his game plan. And I think that's why I think the whole thing with Georgia was really, even though we lost, I thought it was Ryan Day's finest moment as a coach so far at Ohio State. I thought he really took a step forward. For people that were questioning Ohio State about the toughness or the talent or whatever it may be, I mean, heck, we came in within one play, within one lace being turned out the right way of winning that game and winning the national championship. So, I think Ryan Day is going to take what he learned, continue on it, and I sometimes you got to knock on the door before you kick it in, and I think he was knocking on the door, and I think he learned some stuff in the meantime while he was outside, and now he's ready to kick in the door and go win some national championships.
Yeah, I totally agree. On JoJo, I don't know. I think JoJo's an NIL kid, but I think our NIL stuff's actually doing quietly really good. I mean, I've heard and seen some of the chucks these guys are getting and some of the cars are getting, and they're not getting Honda Accords. I mean, they're getting some pretty nice rides. I'm talking kids that are freshmen, like kids that haven't played a snap, kids that just arrived, kids that are coming in the summer. So, it'll be interesting to see how much he talks to the Miami people. Because that's the thing with Ayers, he's talking to A&M, he's talking to Miami, he's talking to the guys that are doing the inducements, and it's going to just be real interesting to see how big does that play with some of those kids that are in South Florida, because it's different for everybody. It costs us Mark Fletcher, but I also fight back on the Mark Fletcher thing, because I think that if you're recruiting him, you better know that, hey, there's a chance that the NIL thing might jump up and get this guy. The NIL monster might jump up and snag him out of the boat, and it did, and we were kind of caught flat-footed, and I think that's on the coach, like I do. But I mean, what do I know? I mean, I think if you don't have a pulse on the kid, because he might like you and love you, but if at the end of the day he's getting offered a pretty substantial chunk of money, and that's what's going to motivate him, then you got to know that as a position coach. So, all right, we congrats, Paul. Glad you're eating good. Appreciate you, my dude.
Kirk, back to I just have to sound Fletcher. I mean, anybody who can say that they were caught off guard by Fletcher just was not paying attention. Everybody knew that was an NIL story, and let's not dance around it. He got offered $750,000 a year every year for 4 years to go to Florida. That's a lot of scratch, man. And like for 99% of the kids in America, that's life changing. Maybe 99.99999% of the kids is life changing. So, I think if Alfred was caught off guard by that, then he needs to get a subscription to Buckeye Scoop and tune in, and we'll give him some information on his kids.
You know what? I totally agree. I think you better have a pulse on it, man. Because if these kids flip on you, that's on you, and you better have playing A- and B and C ready to go in case you need to take a guy. Because like we ended up not even taking a linebacker or taking a running back, and I'd bet a mountain of money that's the first time that's ever happened in the history of Ohio State football that we didn't take a linebacker or a running back in a recruiting class. So, it's gonna, it's like I said, I'm done with the excuses about not getting a running back at Ohio State. Do you as we get it back into spring ball, Nevada, they're gonna put the pads on next week. What are you looking forward to hearing about? Pro days next week. It's gonna be a pretty busy day for Ohio State, pretty busy week. What are you excited about coming into next week when these kids get back from spring break?
Well, just the first scrimmage, just to see, when it really gets going for a bit, and seeing when the hitting starts, because, like I said, we don't have a lot of questions about this team. This 2023 team is absolutely loaded, and I just can't wait to see the bullets fly for real and see a little bit more about what we got at that quarterback spot. Excited about seeing that offensive line shuffle, and as we've talked about ad nauseum, talk about where do they find a place for a CJ Hicks? Where do they find a place for a Sonny Styles and Kai Stokes and some of those great young players? It's gonna be a lot of fun, but it's gonna start with that first scrimmage right out of the chute.
Yeah, I'm gonna be excited just to see how does the pass protection look? How's the offense look? Again, it's such a watered down version of the offense because Marvin will barely play, Emeka won't play, Julian won't play, Trey won't play. So I mean, it's kind of do you grade on a curve when Kyle McCord's out there and he's throwing to guys that he's not probably going to be thrown to the first snap of the game week one? I mean, that's the question to me, because I feel like you've got it's going to be interesting, because I feel like the one thing that's positive about the fact that we're missing all these guys is that the second and first huddle receivers are basically going to be the same guys. Like you're going to see Jaden going with the ones and twos, and you're going to see X going with the ones and twos, and you're going to see whoever, if they move Kojo or Caleb Burton or Carnell Tate or one of the Rogers brothers, if they move one of those guys up to the ones or twos, like you're going to see a lot of the same guys. So it's not like the quarterback that's working with Marvin and Emeka and Julian looks awesome, and then the guy who's thrown to the twos and threes doesn't look awesome. I mean, the ones they're gonna have the same receivers essentially. So that'll be fascinating, because that's always something I wondered about with quarterback battles is who gets the reps with the best players, like who gets the reps with when we had Zwick and Troy, who gets the reps to throw to Santonio Holmes, who gets open versus everybody, and and Teddy Ginn and Gonzo. And then the guy with the 2 is going with receivers that aren't as good, that don't get as open. They don't create as much separation. So that's always a fascinating thing to see how they manage the reps and see, who gets to play with the better offensive line. Because that was another thing is, if you're with that first O-line, generally they're a little bit better. Now, granted, you're going to go against that first defense. It's going to have the best pass rushers and AJ Hawk and Schlegel and those guys. So, that's always kind of an interesting blend and just managing those reps. Because I think Devin Brown has a real shot. I would be shocked if he beats Kyle McCord out to start game 1. But, I've been wrong before. And again, that's just part of the intrigue of this quarterback battle is, Devin Brown's got a real opportunity these next 2 weeks. And they're really the biggest 2 weeks of his life, because if he can make a move and somehow steal this position from Kyle, then, we've got an athletic gunslinger at quarterback, a guy that people in the Woody Hayes have told me that he's got more upside, and he's the guy that is the potential franchise guy. So, I'm all ears. I'm excited about it. So it's going to be really interesting, because anytime there's a quarterback competition of this magnitude, Devin Brown was the number 1 player in On3's rankings 2 years ago. McCord was a 5-star. So it's 2 really good quarterbacks going against each other. So I'm excited about that. Well, any final words? March Madness is starting to crank up right now, so we're going to head on off and watch some of that. But any final words of that as we wrap the show?
No, I'm just ready for March Madness, ready for some gambling madness, and ready for the Buckeyes to get back and answer more questions about the spring. Can't wait.
Yeah, I can't wait either. It's going to be great. Well, we appreciate you guys as always. Appreciate you. Congrats to my friend Paul. I believe that you wrote that you're grubbing and you're able to eat. Congrats on, for those who don't know, Paul had a procedure done, hopefully to remove some cancer. So appreciate you, brother. I am thinking about you. Sue, we do not have anything on KJ Bolden. I can ask Bank about that tomorrow. But yeah, I'm just super excited about all this. Appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. I know obviously March Madness is cranking up on TV, so we're going to get on to that. But thank you guys as always for your support, being on the channel. We love being on here. So you could click like, subscribe, and click that little bell so you get the alerts when we go live. We appreciate you guys. I know a lot of you guys do that because you guys pop on as soon as I pop on, which is always great. And we appreciate that. Again, we passed the new milestone in subscribers, so we appreciate you guys as always. And shout out where you're from in the comments, guys. I'm telling you, we have China, Korea, the Netherlands, people popping off in the comments. It's great because, you see truly how global BuckeyesCoop.com has become. So thank you guys for that. And shout out to all you guys in Southwest Florida and Ohio, Georgia, Texas. So, we love all you guys. So thank you guys so much. So hope you guys have a great rest of your night. It's time to get ready for some March Madness basketball. The best weekend of the year is here for the tournament. So we're going to get that cranked up. So thank you guys as always. Thank you, Buckeye Nation, and thank you, Scoop family. Let's go watch some hoops. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Go Bucks.